Hello everyone, this flow is all about gaining flexibility in the hip rotators and feeling more comfortable in your straddle, or if you're working towards middle splits, getting closer to that as well. Let's go ahead and begin in a comfortable seat with the soles of feet to touch, the knees wide, and we'll begin to find some Kundalini style circles here, pressing the rib cage to each corner of the room, allowing the chin to drop towards chest as you round back, and the chest to open as you come through the forward motion of the circle. Go ahead and switch directions. Holding at the back motion of the circle, dropping the chin a little closer towards the chest. And on your next inhale, opening up, maybe you open the eyes, send the chest forward, and exhale, rounding back. Opening up. Rounding back, tucking the belly button into spine as you round, pulling the pelvis under, and as you come forward, pressing the pelvis back. Find some slight wiggles left and right, making any little motions you'd like to throughout this video to help you feel more comfortable and really find your full edge in each stretch. Allow your head to roll out left to right, holding to one side, and through center to the other. Holding center, taking a big roll in your shoulders, and bringing your hands behind your hips, fingers facing forward, pressing your chest open, and exhale, closing off those same motions we were doing with the chest. This time pulling the knees in towards one another. Next time you're forward, go ahead and begin those circles, isolating through each side of the room, pressing forward, left, right, and around, making a bit of a half circle. So towards the front, to the back, towards the front, and switching back, front, back, front. See if you can smooth that motion out a little more. Holding back, pressing forward, and extending both legs long. Go ahead and bring your hands down by either side of your hips and shake out the knees a little, keeping the heels planted on the floor as you lift each knee. Go ahead and clarify your position however you'd like to and get nice and comfortable. Option to bring your hands behind, pressing the chest forward, flexing and extending through the toes and the ankles. Beginning to find some circles, waking up our feet. Switching directions. And taking any little movements to help you feel more comfortable. Maybe you wiggle out a little left to right. And as you're doing that, see if you can sit up a little taller. Again, totally cool to do the flow with your hands behind your back. It's an awesome beginning variation. If you are comfortable sitting up tall, see if you can find a bit of a bouncing motion forward. Now, not doing this to where you're feeling a pain at the end of the bounce or the stretch, just a small motion. Reaching over to one side and finding a round through the back and pressing the chest forward. You'll notice I do a lot of these rounding and pressing forward. It's a really good variation in any stretch. A lot of times we'll get used to doing a stretch with our back rounded and never get to our full edge of the stretch because we're simply not pressing our chest forward enough. So go ahead and return to center, taking hands around thighs or shins as you round, pointing the toes. As you press your chest forward towards your thighs, flexing through the feet. This will be a big stretch. Rounding, pointing, arching, flexing. Go ahead and hold here in that forward motion, reaching towards your calves or your toes. Taking some little wiggles out left to right. Really finding length through your spine. Sitting tall, and we'll begin to move into the actual straddle stretching portion of this video. Bringing your legs about half as wide as you would for your full straddle. Beginning to find some left to right motions rolling through the shoulders, doing whatever feels good to you to really make yourself comfortable in this position. If it doesn't feel good to lean forward in this stretch, always an option to bring hands behind the back and find the same type of motion. If you are more flexible though, working on lowering, pressing chest towards the floor, finding length through the spine, flexing through the toes at first as you find those little bouncing motions. Holding, finding stillness. Rounding through the spine as you roll all the way up, big roll on the shoulders. Go ahead and bend into each knee, bringing them a couple inches wider on each side. Sitting up tall like this may feel like a decent stretch. Pressing hands behind you, lifting the hips. Pressing up and releasing. Rounding, pulling belly button in, sinking everything in, and pressing forward, setting the hips back. As we round, this is kind of everything you think of horrible posture to be. And then we press forward, the opposite of that. Gaze goes high. Rounding and lifting this time. Pressing the hips back as you lower down, chest up towards the ceiling. If it feels all right to come forward, leaning slightly to the right and the left. Take this motion side to side at your own pace. Finding center as you reach both hands up towards the ceiling. Dropping one hand down, reaching over for a big side body stretch. Wiggling out through the fingers, feeling that energy move through you, and switching sides. Go ahead and switch out side to side. To your right. Closing off. And opening up. So as we're closing off, we're spinning the chest square to the floor and opening up, spinning towards the ceiling. One more time, lower and open, hold here and switch sides, side body. Closing off, opening up. 2 more. Last one. One more time each side, just like that. Go ahead and move at your own pace. As we're doing all these motions with our upper body, our legs are staying in that straddle position, slowly sinking down and becoming more accustomed to the stretch. Making small movement in the hips. Finding that side body stretch on one side, closing off towards that extended leg, sweeping through center and opening up to the other side. Continuing this motion, sweeping across center and opening up through center into the side. As you sweep forward, see if you can reach a little more forward every time. If you're more flexible through your side body option to drop down towards an elbow. And we'll find ourselves in the center. Hands come to hips, making small pulses, finding that length through the spine. Sitting up tall, taking a big roll in the shoulders, and I want you to look at where your feet are positioned. Ideally, feet and knees are oriented straight up towards the ceiling, not falling in towards the ground or opening too far up towards the back wall. Once you get that position, go ahead and find those pulses over to one side. Engaging the core and the legs, sweeping to the other pulses here. Finding center, holding, reaching the arms forward, reach, engaging the inner thighs. Hold for 3, 2, and 1. Dropping the hands and finding some motions left and right. Finding fluidity through the spine. Finding stillness now and reaching the hands forward in front of you. Breathing deeply as you press, leaning to your right and left. If you can bring both elbows down, extending the right arm and the left arm, gazing over your shoulder. One more time each side. And finding yourself at center, taking a big breath in, and on the exhale, beginning to walk your hands out a little further. So if you find yourself being rounded like I am here, I would rather have you walk your hands in a little closer and have a nice flat spine. There's a big difference between being rounded like this with your hands in the same position as opposed to having a nice flat spine. You'll notice the stretch is much, much more intense if you attempt that. So finding your edge here, breathing very deeply. One more big exhale, sinking deeply and finding your way back up tall. Bringing your legs a little wider to your widest straddle, maybe even close to a middle split if you have one. And finding some little motions left and right, maybe lifting the hips, clarifying your position here. Beginning to lean over to one side and the other. So as we lean to the right, bending into our right knee and sinking over to that side. Same thing on the left, bending slightly into the left knee and leaning. Continue these side to side. Always feel free to modify and adapt to feel best to your own body. Everyone's body works a little differently, so make sure you are doing the best for you and really listening to your own. So bring your hands in front, hips, or behind, and beginning to find those chest circles through center to the left, to the back, to the right, at your own pace with your own breath here. And if your hands are behind and you're feeling good, maybe bringing hands up to the hips, beginning to work your way chest to the floor is the end goal here, but working wherever you feel good. Maybe you bring your hands forward to continue that motion. Really taking your time here. Finding some stillness wherever you are. Deep breath in and out. Gently returning to center, shaking it out a little bit, and we'll begin with the other direction. Pressing chest forward. Moving in the opposite direction of circles. Begin to move through whatever you did on the other side. Maybe walking hands to hips. If your hands are coming to the floor, bring attention to your shoulders and make sure they aren't creeping up by your ears. And bringing attention to the length of your spine. If your legs are wider, more towards middle splits, they will naturally fall in a little more forward, and that's totally okay. Finding some stillness here for a deep breath in and out. Finding your way back to seated tall. Pressing gently to one side and the other. Any little motions that you'd like to take here. For the remaining portion of this video, I will be focusing more specifically on middle splits. So if you are working towards middle splits, go ahead and follow along with what I'm doing. If you are very close or watch, soak it in, then practice on your own time, or pause the video and do so after you watch, whatever works for you. So right here, I am pressing chest towards the floor and actively pressing my hips back, arching slightly through my back. So no rounding through the back here. This exercise is awesome if you are very close to middle splits, but that kind of rolling through them is difficult for you. So working on that, then bringing your legs a little bit wider and a little bit wider. Setting up here, taking some time to breathe and prepare, sinking forward, holding a little longer. So if you're working towards rolling in the middle splits, it will look a little like this at first. You'll have to use your arms more to lift the hips. Continue this motion. So your rocking motion will look a little more like that. Maybe you come down your forearms and your hips lift high. Once you get more flexible, you will be able to roll more forward like this. The muscles of the inner thigh and the groin will loosen up and allow you to move through this range of motion with ease, with time. So consistency is really key here. If you find your middle splits, go ahead and lower on to your elbows, finding that rolling back and forth. As you see here, when I come forward, my hips are lifting a little bit. So if you have that issue, like I do a lot of times when I first begin stretching, see if you can apply some pressure with your hands, maybe even lift your chest. If you have a partner to help you stretch, this would be an awesome place to have them help you out and apply a little pressure to your low back or your hips. Rocking out side to side, maybe holding to one side or the other. Go ahead and experiment with these stretches that I'm showing you. Chances are some of them will work great for you, be a game changer. Finding stillness wherever you're at, closing your eyes, and taking a deep inhale for 3, 2, 1, and exhale 3, 2, 1. Bringing your chest up tall if you were leaning forward, big roll in the shoulders, shake it out. Bringing hands behind you, and to safely bring the legs back to center, lifting underneath one knee and then the other, keeping the feet wide and allowing the legs to relax as you shake them out. Dropping to one side, a bit of a windshield wiper left and right. And holding around the fronts of the knees. You find several more heart openers and rounding through the back. Holding there as you shake out, finding any last movements you so desire here. Go ahead and give yourself a big hug for all that hard work on your mat today. And I want to thank you all for sharing this beautiful practice with me. All of your love and support. Thank you so much. Namaste.